Okay. Well, hi there. It is just after 10:30 and time to show up. I'm showing up. I'm glad you showed up. I appreciate every single one of you. And do the little YouTube dance. Like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit. And let's shit in the box. These videos are starting to come out later and later in the day. And they're all happening like around 11 o'clock at night lately. So that's kind of frustrating. I would really rather have them coming out early in the afternoon, but they don't. So it just kind of is what it is. Usually what happens is I spend most of the day not doing any art or any music or any programming. And I just kind of fuck around and go, I should do some stuff. And then I don't. We all have moments like that. But I do think about meaningful, important things. And today I have been, today and most of yesterday, in fact, I have been thinking about the hump, which I talked about on Friday. The whole concept of there's this hump you have to get over in order to start having fun in a game. So I've been playing Starfield, and as you can see, I'm sitting around level 39. I'm about level 40, not quite, and this is very nearly the point where the game opens up and starts to be fun, in my opinion, because I feel like that happens around level 60. But one of the things that I've been trying to do is I've been trying to get over the hump in this game faster. And I've been doing a lot of thinking about where the hump comes from and whether and why you should or should not want to get rid of the hump. So one of the things I'm thinking is when you first start playing the game, you have this immediate friction of you don't know how to play the game. You don't know what the right way to play the game is. You don't know what the mechanics of the game are. There's a tutorial. There's an initial storyline. I'm going to make reference to Starfield, obviously, as I'm talking about this, because it's the game that I've most recently played and been looking at this. And the thing with Starfield is most games today actually have to assume that you may never have played a game before. Because that may be true. You may be like somebody's significant other who is not really a gamer, but you're dating somebody who's a gamer, and now you want to join them in this gaming hobby that they have. So you need to pick up a game, and you need to pick up their favorite game, and any game that's a candidate for their favorite game, you need to learn that as the first game you've ever played. If your control system is in any way different or unusual compared to other stuff, if your game looks like a particular game but isn't quite that game, you need to explain how your game differs from that. And then you have the issue of archival and historical gaming, where maybe this game is 20 or 30 years old, and the people that are playing it are using a brand new control system that you've never heard of because it doesn't exist yet. So you have to explain how the game works, and they have to learn this whole new method of controlling the game, which a lot of people don't understand. Like if you play the Bard's Tale trilogy today, it's very weird compared to other games. It's not the way that you would expect a dungeon crawling RPG to work. So you have to learn all of that, and one of the things that I got to thinking about with that is when you back up to the Bard's Tale trilogy and you play it on a modern system and you play it with the benefit of understanding modern conventions and games and the modern way that RPGs work, the Bard's Tale trilogy sucks because at the time the computer couldn't do what the computer can do now, so we didn't tell it to do that. We didn't try to make it do that. It wasn't something you could do anyway, so we did smaller, simpler, easier things. And it sucks compared to a modern game. So that's kind of frustrating and obnoxious. But in Starfield, the thing about the hump is that you have the immediate hump of you need to learn the control system of the game, which if you're a Bethesda game player, you just kind of roll your eyes and go, yeah, I know all this shit. I know all this shit. It's not all that tough. And then you get introduced to the storyline. That's a hump too. What are you supposed to be doing? Where are you supposed to go? And there are all of these new systems to engage with. And once you actually get to a certain point in the main quest, you're basically forced to go through a certain amount of it. And then, after you've gone through that amount of the quest, the game kind of drops you and goes, well, you could continue this, or you could just do whatever the fuck you want. And, for example, in Skyrim, that is, as soon as you come out of Helgen, you can fuck off and do whatever you want. In Fallout 4, it's as soon as you come out of the vault. It is, in fact, in Fallout 3, also the way that things work. In Fallout New Vegas, it's even earlier. It's the second you leave Doc Manning's. It is Doc Manning, isn't it? It's Doc something. As soon as you leave the doctor's house, you can fuck off and do whatever you want. You don't have to stick around. You don't have to do the main quest. That's not necessary. But in Starfield, it walks you through this whole thing where you don't just have to do your shit on Vectera. Once you get onto the frontier and you leave Vectera, you have to learn ship combat. You have to go to Crete and you have to engage with the pirates. You have to understand how persuasion operates. You have to make your way to the lodge in New Atlantis. And it's only then, it's only after you go to New Atlantis and visit the lodge that you are able to go, fine, I'm just going to fuck off now and do whatever I want. It takes a fair amount of time. I mean, not that much time. It's like 20, 30 minutes, but that's a fair amount of time. And once you get to that point, you now run into the new hump, which is you have the world of stuff available to you. But most of it is just ridiculously deadly. You can't go and just start knocking out installations immediately. You don't have the combat skills to do that. You can't run off and do faction quests immediately. You don't have the skills to do that. It's a fairly long time before you can engage meaningfully with anything other than the main quest. The main quest is designed for you to take on right now as soon as you start out. Everything else is designed for you to get to a certain point. And if you've played through the game before and you understand, well, really, this is a core Bethesda concept now that I think about it. If you're going to go around doing anything at all, you first need to increase your combat skills to a sort of critical mass. Like, let me jump in here and jump to my skills. I don't have a whole lot of combat skills right now. But But what I do have, I have ballistics because, of course, you do. Unfortunately, the ballistic weapons available to you in the early game either absolutely suck shit in terms of damage, or you just can't find enough ammunition for them. So I also had to get lasers. I put 2 levels into lasers. That was like the first 2 things that I did, because the mining laser that you start out with, the cutter, that's actually really good at low level, and it gets better at high level. Once you actually like increase your laser skill and your heavy weapons certification, when you get your laser skill up to the top level and you have that chance to set a target on fire, the rate of fire from the mining laser sets things on fire multiple times every second. So that's pretty useful. But after using the laser for a while, I managed to pick up a decent weapon. I picked up a modified AA-99, which was doing 40 points of damage. I think I still have it. I think I'm still carrying it. But in fact, let me check. I'm fairly sure I've still got it. Yeah, it's this Assassin's Calibrated Maelstrom. I picked this up, and it does some decent damage. It's got a scope, it's got a suppressor, it's got armor-piercing rounds, it's semi-automatic, it's perfect. And then after a while, I picked up a Beowulf, and after a while longer, it was just a base Beowulf with no mods, and then after a while, I picked up one with a medium scope and a suppressor, and I haven't bothered to try and improve anything. And I have this Equinox that I picked up. But the cutter just like, that thing absolutely slaughters early game enemies. And once I got up to a point that I could get my rifle certification, I lean heavily into rifles. So I'm going to need ballistics and lasers and particle beams and incapacitation and rifles. And I'm going to need all of those because I use rifles. That's what I do. And I'm going to need sniper certification of marksmanship, which I have just started working on. I think I've got I've got marksmanship at level 2. I've still got sniper certification is only at level 1. But there's this kind of critical mass where you need to put about 10 levels into combat skills before you're any place that you can do meaningful adventuring and expect to get through the combats that you run into. There's also kind of an issue with the tech stuff because you need your boost back training, you need your piloting skills so you can get like high level ships. You need your targeting control systems, which I'm still working up, and obviously you need security. Starship design is important. Science, I put a lot of stuff into surveying because I need my scanner to work well. I do a lot of that. The first time I went through the game, I put everything into surveying, and I had like surveying and geology and botany and zoology and scanning, and I was getting all of that stuff and putting nothing into the combat skills. That was a bad idea. So yeah, and you have to keep upgrading your ship as you go, because if you don't upgrade your ship, then you can't get through ship combat, and ship combat pops up fairly often, even when you're just like surveying planets and whatnot. I have some kind of status thingy. Oh, I have a dislocated limb and reduced carry capacity. You know what? I could unencumber myself by just using... Come down here to aid. Come down here to immobilizer. Cure that dislocated limb, and now I'm fine. Yeah. Okay, no problem. Anyway. focus my fucking camera. It doesn't matter if my camera's out of focus. I'm nothing worth looking at anyway. So it's just, as long as you can see the gestures that I'm making, that's good enough. You don't need to see, like, you don't need me in focus. That's ridiculous. But the thing about the Hump is, at any given point in time, you need to not only have a bunch of stuff that you can do within your game, you also need to have the promise of other cooler stuff that you can do in the game if you engage with the advancement system. And I think that's really where the Hump comes from. The Hump really comes not so much from, it's not a flat, level playing field where you go along and there's this bump in your way. It's more like the playing field is angled, and right now it's steep, but you can see it getting shallower later on. And if you flatten that out, it would look like there's a bump, but really it's just steep followed by shallower, and then it flattens out and you can do whatever. It flattens out around level 200, I would say. Where would it be? You know, there are a whole lot of skills in Starfield that are just fucking worthless. Or at least I think they're fucking worthless. Let me kind of go over my thought process on these. This is probably absolutely worthless to the great majority of people, but boxing, don't care. Fitness, I mean, it's increased lung capacity and more oxygen available, okay? I don't really have a problem with running out of oxygen, so I don't care. Stealth you need. That's a must-have. Weightlifting, don't care. Wellness, increasing your maximum health, don't care. Energy weapon dissipation, this reduces energy damage. Environmental conditioning, it reduces environmental damage. I don't really have problems with these. Gymnastics gives you, like, useful stuff. The increased jump height at the end, and rank 2, which lets you move faster at 0G, those are really useful. Nutrition, don't care. I don't really eat or drink that much in the game. Pain tolerance to reduce physical damage. These things are useful, don't get me wrong, but sinking your points into them early is just not worth it. So it's like, most of these physical things can be left like all the way till the end. Rejuvenation is really useful, obviously. Neurostrikes, really useful. Concealment, really useful. Those 3 are important. The rest, just not that important. Now over here in the social, most of this not important. Persuasion is important. Scavenging is cool, theft is cool, I don't use them. All of this shit except isolation. Isolation gives you good bonuses at the top level, okay? Leadership, and not so much. It just really, it's not that useful. Outpost management, I don't build a whole lot of outposts. Outpost engineering, where is outpost engineering? It's not here. It's somewhere else. Ship command, don't care. Isolation is the only really important one here. Instigation, don't use it. Leadership, don't care. Outpost management, don't care. Manipulation, ship command, xenosociology, I don't care. None of that stuff matters. Combat, everything in here matters to some degree, but it's just like you pick a type of weapon, and you pick like ballistics, lasers, particle beams, incapacitation, and then you pick like your shotgun, your pistol, your rifle, whatever, and you pick like your style. You just kind of make your way down the group, and then when you get to the end, you always need armor penetration, you always need crippling, you always need sharpshooting. All of this stuff is useful to have. Science, a lot of this is not really all that useful, but you are going to have to kick up your your weapon engineering, your spacesuit design, and what is it? Is it chemistry? No, it's outpost engineering. That's important. Special projects is also important. But, really this is if you get into crafting. If you get into crafting, all your crafting skills are useful there. Over here in tech, all of your ship combat systems are useful here. But mostly the one that you want to focus on is always going to be combat. You don't really need anything else except combat. You'll do okay if all you focus on is combat. And boost pack. You need your boost pack. And piloting. You just unlock the things that you need as you come across them. One of the shittiest pieces of information that I heard from people was don't save your skill points. No, save your skill points. Do not spend your points on a skill unless you need it. And if you've got skill points and it's not clear what skill you need, hold on to them, buy the skill when you need it. At least that's my perspective on it. Anyway, but my thoughts on the hump have mostly revolved around the question of there's that progression of it's steep and then it shallows out as you go until it levels out around level 200, where you've got everything that you need. You've got all of the stats that you're going to need. You've been through New Game Plus 10 times total, and you've done all 250 fucking temples. Is it 250 or is it only 240? I don't remember. But let's see, there was something else I was thinking about that I wanted to cover. Oh yeah. Sometimes the hump can be binary, which is to say that if you don't get over this hump, the rest of the game is just plain not available. It's not too hard, it's not too difficult to play the rest of the game. It's literally impossible. You can't get to the rest of the game unless you cross this particular barrier. Like, I was mentioning Brave Fencer Musashi the other day. And if you can't if you can't work out how to pass that log jumping sequence at the beginning, you just can't play the rest of the game. You'll never get there because you have to get through that. Just like in Final Fantasy X, where you have to win at Blitzball or you can't play the rest of the game. Which was fine with me. I said, fuck you, I don't like this game. Then I went and played Final Fantasy X2, which I think you're supposed to call 10-2, which doesn't make any sense. They should have called it 10.5. That made more sense to me. At least it should make more sense anyway. They should have been Final Fantasy X-A and X-B instead of Final Fantasy X and Final Fantasy X-2. Should have just made it Final Fantasy XI. Why didn't they just call it Final Fantasy XI? That would have worked. Final Fantasy X.5 would have worked. Anyway. I think the hump in any game just like happens, and there's no real avoiding it, but it's important to know where it is so you can plan around it and you can understand where those things are in your game and what players need to deal with as they go through it. And as they deal with one particular part or another particular part. Anyway, like that's what I've been thinking. So yeah, once again, do the little YouTube dance, like, comment, subscribe, all that happy horse shit, and okay, bye.